Hello and welcome to Red Risks Media. This is a live event. Things can go wrong. Please stick with us while we try and sort some of those gremlins out. We live stream to LinkedIn, to YouTube and to Twitter, sometimes to Facebook. So please do join us on these live events. We'd welcome you to subscribe to our newsletter. No spam, I promise. It's only about the live events that are coming up. Now, enough of that. Let's just get on with the show. Greetings, everyone, wherever you are in the world. And Jeanette, welcome. Natalie, welcome. How are you both today?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Sonny. Excited.
Hi, Jeanette. Yeah, super excited. In fact, very excited that Natalie's on our show. Natalie, this is your first show, first time on the Stream Team show. Very warm welcome to you, and thank you for so much for being a part of our Stream Team family. Now, Natalie, before we go into the main event, just take a minute to tell us a little bit about your background, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Natalie Abiodan. I'm based in England, in Kent. I come from working in the oil industry, predominantly in the aviation fuel area, and I'm a procedures and human factors advisor at the moment.
Wonderful, Natalie. In fact, we're going to do a show just with you sometime in August, September, and I'm really looking forward to that. Hey, look, we've got a packed show today. It's the first time we have had 8 guests, well, 8 folks on camera at the same time. And what an incredible crowd we've got on today. I'm really supercharged to talk about this one. We've been planning it for a while. So let me just shut up and I'll do a quick introduction to the OneWISH Coalition with a very small video. And then we're going to bring the OneWISH Coalition on camera and let's get the show going. Okay, so here's a quick background to the OneWISH Coalition. Hello and welcome to OneWISH, Women and Inclusion in Safety and Health. Diversity and inclusion plays a huge part in the way we do things in Red Risks. And we make sure that we not only provide a seat at the table, which is diversity, but also inclusion, giving everyone a voice. And that's why we're very proud to be supporting this OneWISH Coalition. If you want to know more about the coalition and OneWISH, get in touch with us. The email is just live@redrisks.com, and I'd be more than happy to hear from you and also get you involved with the OneWISH Coalition. Thank you. Wow, what a crew. Hey, welcome to the show, everyone. Really nice to see you all. I am not only nervous because I'm worried about the bandwidth, but I'm also very excited at the same time to see you all. I'm literally going to just do a very simple job, just act as the host. And what we're mindful that we've got a lot of folks who will take it in turns to talk. And also we've got the live chat in the background once that starts. So let me first start with a positioning question and just say, tell us a little bit about OneWISH. Well, actually, no, let's go back one step. So let's learn a little bit more about your backgrounds, what you do and what you do in OneWISH. So may I start in a sort of a certain order? May I start with you, Louise, first? Let's start with you.
Hi, guys. Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited. It's great to see so many faces on here as well. Sunny, if you can handle this, you can handle anything. So, hi, I'm Louise Hosking. This is going to be my 3rd decade in health and safety. So yeah, I mean, I'm a consultant. I've done a variety of different roles. I was a regulator, so I started off environmental health. I've worked for the cooperative, which was amazing. I've worked in the construction sector, and I was head of environmental health and safety at Savills, after which time I set up my own consultancy, and now I do a variety of jobs, and not least promoting women and inclusion in safety and health. So that's
brilliant.
Me.
Thanks, Louise. Thank you very much. Tamara, next to you.
Thank you, Sunny. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is going to be an amazing conversation. My name is Tamara Paris, and I work at Safeopedia, and we're all about getting information out to health and safety professionals in order to create collaboration and educate people more for free about professional topics and trends. And I'm on the OneWISH Foundation because it really steers into what we focus on also at Safeopedia, which is being very mindful about equality and inclusion and belonging. So thank you for letting me join today.
Thank you, Tamara. And Cathy, if I may ask you as well, please. Oh, Cathy, you're on mute.
Mute. Hello. It's very, very nice to be with you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm excited to be part of this whole group and my fellow OneWISH women who are just amazing. You're going to meet everybody today. I'm really passionate. People who know me, I'm Cathy Seabrook. People that know me know that I'm really, really passionate about people and their health, their safety, and their well-being. And that being embedded in decision-making for all companies and their stakeholders around the world. My background really is globalization. I was based in the UK for almost 10 years working. And I typically work with global companies on their strategy and execution with a focus on safety and health management systems. And I've had that opportunity to get to know Louise a while back, and the rest of our group. I'm just so excited because I'm meeting them and I'm learning from them, and we're learning from each other on this diversity, equity, and inclusion, and sort of the reality of the lack of women in safety. So this initiative, which you're going to learn all about today, is pretty exciting. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cathy. And if I may please impose on you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Gardner Aston. I am I'm now a consultant in health and safety, but I've done virtually every strand of health and safety work that I think there is. So I started off, like Louise, as an environmental health practitioner and met her briefly at one of our mutual employers, and then just carried on in a different trajectory completely. Ended up as a director of health, safety and well-being for a large organisation here in the UK, and then I decided in September of last year to go it alone in a bit of a well, actually originally I was just going to take a sabbatical and have some time off because COVID, well, just because COVID, and then fell into consultancy quite by accident and found that I absolutely adore it. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm based up in Cumbria in the UK, so it's away from everybody else completely, which is quite nice. Oh, yeah. And being an isolationist, and the whole OneWISH, my involvement in OneWISH has come about completely by accident, because although everybody else has been very much involved in the diversity and inclusion agenda, and I just had a bit of a sort of background interest in women in the profession and getting women into the profession and making sure that they were adequately represented. And it was just by virtue of a general conversation with Louise, as these things so often are, where you get pulled into something. And this happened. So I now find myself as the chair of the Global Coalition of Women in Health and Safety Networks, which is a fantastic position to be in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne. And Melissa, of course, Melissa and I know each other from the past, and you were on the stream team for a brief time. Give us a little bit of background to yourself, Melissa.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be involved in this session. I think, Sonny, you do a great job with these live stream team events. So I'm very excited to be here. So yeah, Melissa Markjoyce. I'm showing I'm in the UK, but as you can pick up from my accent, actually from the Caribbean, which I'm very proud about. And I have worked in the oil and gas industry for the majority of my career, but took a change last year, and now medical devices, which has been an amazing learning experience. So my background is actually slightly different. Chemical engineer background, worked in facilities engineering, operations management, but always had a passion for health and safety, especially after working in the North Sea about 20 years ago now. So about 10 years ago, I decided it was the profession I wanted to stay in, and I'm so glad I've done that. So I'm currently the Group Health, Safety and Sustainability Manager for a company called Inspiration Healthcare here in the UK. It's a growing company, but I'm doing some great things around medical devices, ventilators for infants and adults. And how I got involved in OneWISH, I mean, Louise, I can spend an hour talking about the influence Louise has had in my life in the last year and a half. But I got a great opportunity. She offered me the the chance to be involved. I'm deeply passionate about inclusion and diversity, having worked in 3 regions, having worked in the oil and gas industry, etc. So I love being able to collaborate, learn from each other, share best practices, and enhance, women and diverse groups. So this is such a great platform to be able to do that. So thanks again, Louise and Sonny, for your being a male ally in this space.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much. The common name mentioned there was Louise, so we're going to start with Louise in this one. Before we do that, as you know, we have the live chats on the side here. I'll occasionally throw in a curveball, put up some of the questions from them. I just want to recognize Vince Butler. Vince, always love to see you on the show, and I know you've had a call out on this, so great to see you on here. Keep them questions coming in, Vince. Gabriella, great to see you on the show. I haven't seen you for a long time. And Gabriella says, proud to see Poland reps. Thank you, Jeanette. Absolutely. Now, I only have one question, and then my wonderful, Jeanette and Natalie from the stream team are going to help out with some questions. My first question actually is going to go to Louise, because you seem to have been pointed to quite a bit. Louise, what made you start OneWISH? What was the idea behind it? I know that we're big supporters of diversity and inclusion, but what made you go on that journey?
Wow. So yeah, I mean, I've always been passionate about this. I mean, regularly, like the others in the room, it's not unusual for me to be the only woman in the room, which is, you kind of
not today.
It's amazing, isn't it? So yeah, so I mean, I've always been passionate about this, and I'm also passionate about diversity of thought and having the opportunity for sometimes the quiet people in the room or the people with the very feminine traits, they get drowned out and we don't hear those thoughts. And when we have diversity in health and safety, we make better health and safety decisions. And so it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I've made no secret of that. And the question, how did this come about? Every International Women's Day, I want to do something different and I want to better myself from the last one. And it was probably this time, sort of 18 months ago. So I met Malcolm Staves, who isn't on the call today, but he's one of our big male allies. And no, this is probably going back a couple of years ago. So he and I met at conference and we instantly had this connection. We think, and Cathy knows us both now, and she'll probably say this, we're very similar. He's like the male version of me, and we just want to go in there, we want to deal with stuff, we want to change things. And so I initially was talking to him because I heard him speak about what they do at L'Oreal to support families and around the human capital agenda. And he really struck me. So I kind of sought him out and we had this whole conversation about STEMs in schools. And I work for a state school in North London, which is a girls' school, which is very diverse and very mixed. And the teaching staff there are incredible. So initially I was trying to get him involved with how can we get L'Oreal giving the girls at this school aspiration around STEMs and work experience and that kind of thing. And then the pandemic hit and the things moved on, and I started talking to him about, well, what about health and safety and what about International Women's Day? And we started to talk about all these amazing people that between us we know around the world. And what we might do for International Women's Day this year. And as Cathy, I'm going to steal your thunder again about joining dots, we suddenly realised that Malcolm and I are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to joining the dots and bringing people together. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to create something that was forward thinking, that was going to celebrate women, was going to show the great work that so many women are doing but might be hidden, and it was very much designed to be something that was forward looking. So before we knew it, we were both traveling the globe on Zoom to talk to people who represented organizations about, you know, how can we get your organization to support this initiative. And we really wanted to bring people together to talk, to share ideas about how we can increase the visibility of underrepresented groups, because we know that they're there, but sometimes it's a case of the loudest voices can drown out those individuals, and we need everybody in the room. Yeah. So it was very much geared towards, you know, how can we pull these people together? The people on this call today were definitely volunteered towards it. And yeah, I mean, that's how it all started. We had an incredible congress on the 8th of March, which represented International Women's Day. And we seem to have captured a feeling at the right moment in time. And I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later on about the initiative that we're running, that L'Oreal launched, Safe at Work, Safe at Home. And we've got an initiative running with that, which I'd love to talk about a bit later on. But that's really how it started.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. I mean, this show is OneWISH. So you decide how you want to shape it, which direction you want to go in, share as much as you can with the audience out there so that we can actually engage them and also get them to be a part of the coalition as well. Now, I'm going to let my stream team colleagues come in with some questions here. I know we all need to have a little bit of time on air as well. So let me start first. Natalie, I'm going to put you on the spot, actually. I know you've got tons of questions. I know you've been preparing for this. So if I may, please, could I get the first question from you?
Sure, yeah. So what I was thinking when I was reading up about OneWISH for coming on the show, I was just thinking about how I'm really new to this network, and I'd really love to know, I guess, more around what OneWISH actually looks like practically, in terms of, like, is it a platform like LinkedIn or a forum or networking events, or sort of so that we can imagine it in our minds for those people who have not yet been involved but perhaps would like to be involved?
Great question, Natalie. Is there anyone particularly you want to ask that, or anyone who wants to answer it, feel free?
Yeah, anyone who would like to answer it.
Okay. Well, I'm happy as chair to go with it.
Go ahead, Anne.
So how this has come about, I mean, as Louise said, at home Malcolm know the world, and therefore it's not difficult for them to start identifying groups that could have got involved in this, and individuals as well. But actually where it really started was having a look at the women in safety networks that existed around the globe. There's one in the UK, and I've been part of that for quite some years now. And it was much about bringing those networks together to speak with one voice, really, to try and get a certain degree of alignment, I suppose, with the values and the objectives and so on that these groups were aiming for. And actually, you speak to anybody from Australia, New Zealand, through to India and Sri Lanka and the subcontinent, all the way through the Middle East, through Europe, and right the way out to North America. And funnily enough, all the women in safety groups want the same thing for their members. And it's exactly as Louise spoke about earlier. It's that representation, it's support, it's making sure that those opportunities are available for people. So it wasn't difficult to start getting people together and talking the same language, if you will, even though we probably don't in real life. And we had an initial meeting right at the beginning of January. So just after everybody's hangovers had dissipated, we started to talk about what this would look like in practice, and everybody was so enthusiastic. I think we have about 16 people, 17 people on that call from all over the world, and you can imagine what the timeline issues were like. So we had Eldine in Arizona, I think she was, and it was 5 a.m. and she was rubbing the sleep out of her eyes, very strong coffee. And then we had we had Australia, didn't we?
It was Trish.
Trish, that's right. I was going to say Karen, but that's a different kind of Australia. Yeah, so Trish over in Australia, and it was about midnight or something. So she was just finishing off her last glass of wine. So it was very, it was completely, completely across the world, and it was amazing. And we were talking about the same things. We were really aligning ourselves right from the off. So that's where it started. And we soon realized that we would have to organize ourselves a little bit better, because we're all volunteers. We're all doing this because we've got a real passion for it and a real enthusiasm for moving the agenda on and listening to underrepresented voices. But we've got day jobs, and we've all got this to squeeze in. So we've spent quite a lot of time just having a look at what our governance looks like, boring admin stuff like terms of reference and memos of understanding. And it's become particularly important now. We're starting to attract some of the large organisations, to global organisations, multinationals, who have a cohort of female health and safety professionals within their organisation. So they are networks in and of themselves, and they've started to come on board as well. And we've got some quite big names looking to join us at the moment. We've taken Multiplex in. We've got Nike, who are interested, Jacobs, who's a large global engineering companies. So these people are coming to us now and saying, look, we want to be part of this. We want to feed off what you're trying to do. And we've got certain things that we want to cover as and when we move forward with everything. And I'll let somebody else talk about what our plans for the future are. But it's really exciting. And as the chair, I'm sort of doing all the writing up and trying to make sure we get meetings in the diaries and getting the agendas right and so on. But it will mature and it will evolve, and we're going to be a big thing. That's what we're going to do.
Thanks. I mean, just to mention that you do have a group on LinkedIn, OneWISH group. So if Natalie wants to join that group, it's very easily accessible. Just go on the search bar on LinkedIn and put #OneWISH, and up it will pop. Okay, so join up. That's a real good background there, and thank you for that. We've got some questions coming. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to chime in here also, picking up on the LinkedIn mention. We also want to encourage people to join the group and share what are you doing in your networks out there, because part of the piece of this, as they were saying, is to pull everybody globally together so that it's easier for people to be finding what's going on, what are the opportunities, etc. And so we'll post that LinkedIn group so everybody can navigate to it and join us.
Wonderful. In fact, Tamara, you've preempted a question that came in from Jorge. It says, please consider Mexico, Latin America, South America, ladies in all efforts, because there are many women working in safety and health. Now, before I pull up the first question, which is from our good friend, Dr. Mal Roberts, I just want to say, Jeanette, any questions, any thoughts from yourself at this stage?
First of all, good evening, everyone, or good morning. So excited. They say that one woman is a power, collectively it's an impact. So I'm so excited. And I think OneWISH, I look at that as a journey. So you mentioning that you're meeting different people, different languages, different organizations and different needs, different initiatives. And talking about OneWISH initiatives, could you maybe elaborate more about actions, training, mentoring, support, what exactly those ladies and others, because I believe it's not only ladies, but also men can join the group, they can get, and why would they join the group?
Good question. Is that to anyone in particular, Jeanette?
It might be a good one for Cathy, actually, because Cathy is becoming a mentor.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, Jeanette, because you can have this this global coalition that sounds really good on paper, but what are we actually doing to move the needle, right? So it's a great question. One of the things that, and Louise has more of the background on how it all got started, but ROSPA, L'Oreal, with Karen McDonald and Louise and Malk and sorry if I'm leaving anyone else out, but created this mentoring program. And they've used, I believe it's the IOSH Managing Safely program, and L'Oreal has actually supported that financially in different parts of the world and for women all around. And so what part of that program is you come to the end of it, and Louise is the instructor, you come to the end of it and you develop your own personal goals and objectives. And so in that, so personal, like what you want to develop for yourself and what you want to do in your organizations. And so I think this is brilliant. So I raised my hand and said, yes, I would be happy to be a mentor, because they've paired us up, and I think there's 6 in our first cohort, paired us up with a mentee. And the person that I have is actually, I'm not sure I should be saying the person's name out loud. Louise, give me a nod of yes. But anyway, it's a woman from Canada who is.
Everybody's part of it is that they've
Brenda Madley, who I'm excited to work with, who is from Canada, and she's an EHS leader in her company. So she and I are going to begin to do that mentoring process. And I just think it's wonderful because they've already identified their strategy, their goals, and their objectives. And so they're going to, and what my job will be to do is, you know, part of it is to, you know, be the accountability buddy, if you will, but then also really truly do some good coaching, right? And really help her mine out some of the areas and the directions she wants to go in. So me personally, I mean, this is one woman at a time, right? And I've been involved in many mentoring programs. I'm the past president of the American Society of Safety Professionals, and I'm literally involved, but it's a male gentleman, about 28 years old. And he is, I'm part of their, emerging professionals. It's a mentoring program as well. And I don't know, for me, whether it's male or female, and I know we're talking about female women today, but it's just so exciting to see people grow and learn. And I'll be honest, I always learn as much as they learn. So that's one of the initiatives that we're doing. And I don't know about the rest of the group. You know, you want to chime in, but I just think that's one of the really cool things we're doing, amongst a lot of other stuff.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right, Cathy, saying learning is a two-way thing, and I think it's far more enjoyable when it is a two-way thing. You know, it's you feel like you've achieved something. Can I just ask Melissa, if I may? You did the March the 8th, a lot of work on that, behind that. How did you find that? Did you find you got the buzz behind it that you wanted, and did it engage a lot of folks as well?
Yeah, so thanks. I was actually going to come in there and say, in answering Jeanette's question, another activity we're doing, like we did on March 8th, was around, you know, a congress, getting people together. And one of the things I think is valuable with that is maybe it would be voices who you may not always hear. So I think this is a good forum to bring other people up, because I think in a lot of conferences, it may always be the same people. So I think there's a great opportunity to hear from other people what they're doing. And we're planning another Congress event later on this year. And the intent is to continue doing that. And I think another benefit is in bringing the networks together. Again, I said, I like learning from each other. I love sharing. I think there's that opportunity for us to be getting best practices from each other and to continually improve. And so, you know, it's really about, you know, if there's a network in the UK, a network in the US, Australia, how are we leveraging each other and learning from each other? In terms of the March 8th event, that was my first moderating.
It was great, Melissa. I really enjoyed it. Really. I still remember everything, the numbers, statistics, and there was a wonderful lady from Africa. I remember her presentation. You did a great job, Melissa. You did a great job.
No, but thank you for that. But you know, with C.A.R.E, it was a group effort, and you know, it was great speakers. One of the things I love, as I said, in the last year is how many people have gotten exposure to and learning from. So Karen James from ERM, her presentation was very insightful. You know, the things Funmi is doing with Soshi in Africa. you know, some of these things we never heard about, and this was a forum to do that, and the intent is to continue to do that. So I love the opportunity to be involved in something new and to continually learn and grow. And this was my first moderating event. Tamara's an expert, so I learned even from her. And you know, just looking forward to doing more of those things. So it's things like this we want people to.
I think, Melissa, you bring in another question here to the table with regards to inclusion, because I think it's not only about women and ladies, right? And I think some people have questions about that from the chat.
Yeah, we've got quite a thanks, Jeanette. Yeah, we've got quite a few questions coming in on chat. Some of these are what I would call, they could be quite provocative questions. They could be opening questions into other areas. But hey, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. Let's start the first one with, and I know, Natalie, you got a couple of questions. We'll come back at the end if we can and pick those up. So Malcolm says, excellent initiative. However, is there a danger of isolating women even further if this group's mission is only to unite women worldwide? But is it or isn't it? No, that's the question. No. Do any one of you want to take that one?
We do have male allies that have joined us, so it's not exclusive.
I'm one.
Yeah. So it's not excluding men at all.
And it's women and inclusion. So to me, I'm very much about that the diversity in terms of where you come from. You know, so being from the Caribbean, I've gotten the opportunity to work in the US and the UK, but you know, I think is my voice listened to there because, you know, it's a different accent. My background is different. And I think it's talking about those aspects as well. I think the female piece is important, but it's diversity. And Louise said something about diversity of thought. That's so important. So it's, you know, it's women and inclusion. But supporting women is also something it's very passionate in all of us.
I mean, for me, it's a natural thing. I don't think of it as men and women. I think it's a human race. You know, I mean, we all have a great thing to contribute in this. Thanks, Melissa. I'm just going to jump to a couple of other questions, if I may. Please forgive me if I'm cutting anybody off in the process. There's one here from Vince. I mustn't ignore Vince because he adds a lot of value in these conversations.
And Vince put a great post as well.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Vince, copy it, put it back up so I can read it. But Vince says, how will OneWISH prevent big names from reputation laundering because of their association with this initiative? That I think is quite a
really good question. And yeah, I mean, if I can sort of jump, that's a really good question. So one of the things that has come out of this initiative, and as Melissa says, if you listen to me for long enough, I hate silos. So is it Malcolm that says, you know, will we create will we isolate ourselves? I hate silos, and that's not our intention here at all. And it's very much how we can build ourselves up. So that's definitely not our intention. And those male allies are so important to us, and are so important to us. But equally, we've kind of gone through this discussion in terms of the corporations as well. And we've had we're a brand new team. So we had never worked with each other until this year. And so we've created this team based on these values as well. And as we started to talk to these corporations, we have really frank and open debates with each other. And I've learned a lot from working in this about psychological safety and trust and feeling safe about saying what we all think. And we had some hard debate about the corporations, and we're very committed to continuing to talk about that, to make sure that if they do come on board, everybody also has an equal voice. So it doesn't matter if you represent a small membership organization in a developing nation or you represent a large global corporation. We want to give everybody the same voice.
Louise, your camera froze there, but your voice came through loud and clear. So I don't know if it's a connection issue there, but thanks for that.
Yes,
Tamara.
Can I also just
go ahead, Cathy, and then I'll come in after you.
Okay. I just want to jump in and just add one additional thing that I think answers also part of that question is a company can't just come in and say, oh, well, we want to belong to OneWIsh. They actually have to have an internal network for women. And that is the differentiator, because they're not going to go through all of that to just belong. Or if they do, frankly, it'll come out in the wash anyway. No pun intended in terms of the laundering, as per the question. But I think that that's also important. And we're all very mindful of this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Tamara. Go ahead, Tamara.
All good, all good. I also wanted to just add that we're about really breaking the barriers that impede people from navigating through networking and getting connected with the influencers that help propel people up. And so that is really what we're working towards, is that making sure that but nobody is excluded, that we're breaking apart the silos in those kind of cliquey groups, those cliquey social groups that really I'm going to be a little bit spicy here, but it's a privileged opportunity to get into those groups. And if you're not part of that privileged group, you don't get in, and you don't even know that they exist. And so that's why I've joined OneWIsh, is because that's what I heard this group talking about, was how do we break down those barriers and crack it open so it's an equal playing field.
Yeah. Tamara, could you do me a favor? I know you've posted on LinkedIn the link to the group. Cathy also gave me a link to post on LinkedIn. Could you add that to there? Cathy, do you want to just talk about that link, what it is?
It's perfect timing. Yes. So following on Tamara's thought, it's like, we want to change the system, right? We don't want to just go in and embed ourselves, because then all we do is become just exactly what the gentleman that had the question, we become a silo. And that doesn't do the company, and that doesn't do anyone any good. Because at the end of the day, this diversity of thought, this diversity of people, the human beings, is all about win-win for everybody. People, workers, communities, and the company and the economy. It's all interconnected. And that's why those decision-making possibilities are so important. So what I've dropped in the box, or what Tamara will help me with, is it's an article. It was a couple months ago, I think it was in January. It's an article from Fast Company. It's a US publication, but it talks about breaking down the myth of the pipeline. So the pipeline, meaning it's like, oh, we just need to get women in the pipeline. We need to get women in the pipeline. So it's a podcast that specifically talks about busting that myth. It's not, we do need to get people in the pipeline, and that's the diversity perspective. But if we're going to talk about inclusion and equity, you got to have people at all levels. And so those systems that Tamara was talking about, those innate bias, your human resources, the processes for performance evaluation, the processes for talent management and promotion, those are the kinds of barriers that we collectively need to be working on. And it's frankly the rising tide, and you'll read this, rising tide raises all boats. That includes white men. This is not about anti-anyone. It's about everyone being included. And so it really allows for opportunity. I always say it's from women and people of color. It's competence, which honestly, we have no problem with competence. It's about competence meeting opportunity. And that's what's missing. And that's really the system that needs to change.
Wow.
So
eloquently
I recommend that.
Yeah, very eloquently put. Go ahead, Tamara.
And the one great thing that we're really doing, and it's really going to be impacting marginalized populations on a whole, is, and Louise will get into this a little bit more, is about a mentoring program in order to help crack that open. Because the fact is that if you don't have a sponsor, somebody who speaks your name at the decision level table, if you don't have somebody who's helping you network and guide through, if you don't have somebody who's giving you even formal mentoring in your organization, it's very hard to propel to that executive level. And to be quite candid, a lot of people don't even know this thing called a senior pipeline. So to have an expectation that people that don't even know something exists can then enter into the executive positions and decision-making influential positions is we're setting people up for failure. And that's what we want to help break and repair.
Okay, so look, let's catch up on some of these chats, because I want to bring Anne in on a couple of things as well, and Melissa and Natalie as well. A Zen moment to catch up on chats. Okay, so JQ, great to see you. Allies, yes, of course, we're all allies in this game. I think it's part of the human race. Louisa, lovely to see you. Louisa, Jeanette's on. You can be rest assured she's going to be asking some tough questions in a bit, I would think. Okay, each individuals are unique. Each person brings their own skills and talents, which can be times even better than men too. Absolutely. And then as a stream team member, you have my support. Does that mean I can join? Of course, Mal. I would think that's a yes. I would think as a part of Red Risks on the stream team. Now we have a good question here from Ratna. It says, "Hi." I think it's the question. It says, "Hi everyone. Totally love this. I have been a ESH professional for over 20 years and now having a role as a global safety culture director. In addition to bringing the technical expertise, women really have the skills to look into human factors and the soft skills to influence change from just traditional ESH issues. I know my male colleagues appreciate this. More than happy to learn more and get involved." Well, there you go. There's one immediately for signing up there. Anne, how are you coping in this chair role with all these things going on? What do you do?
I don't know. It happens to me, I'm afraid. No, it's
awesome.
You could just point the finger at the top there, which is Louise.
The good thing about being the chair is that it's okay to delegate. No, it's fine. I mean, working with such an amazing bunch of people, since they're all here, I've got to say that. But no, they're great, and because everybody in fact, not just in the executive committee, but right the way throughout the networks as well, are all experts in their field. They all know what's what. It's a really easy job, and we do have lively conversations, as Louise has said, but we're not afraid to challenge, and we're not afraid to be challenged either. And actually, it's a very healthy way of doing work. We've had a lot to sort out in a relatively short space of time, because anybody that knows Louise and Malk knows that things have to happen at 3,000 miles an hour. You don't get time to draw breath before you've got to have something really mature and kicking along. But it hasn't been quite like that. I think we've steadied the ship a little bit and got the admin and the boring bits out of the way. But it means then that we can have really interesting conversations about what we're about and what we want to do. And I think it's probably important to stress that, in all of these networks, what we're not trying to do is overtly influence what they're doing. They're all networks in their own right. They've all got their own way of doing things, their own objectives, their own priorities, and so on. And we're not about, telling, well, this week we're going to do something about, bringing women into the career change world, or whatever it is. But it is about being able to put people in touch with each other to support what's happening in different parts of the world. And we talked a bit about mentoring there, and that is really on an individual level. So helping that senior pipeline, if you want to use Tamara's phrase. But also, we've got really mature women's networks, and we've got really fledgling women's networks as well. And the two can really come together and help each other out, and all rise together on the same tide. So we in the UK, we could learn an awful lot from Dr. Asani's fledgling network in Sri Lanka, for example. She's desperately trying to get things sorted out and set up, and we can help with some of the arrangements for that, but we're learning and having our preconceptions challenged by what she's going through. We've been doing this for a long time, but there's no stopping learning and education coming through. So, all of that is vital.
I can feel the energy, I can feel the vibe. And as Martin Jones has said, I'm feeling the love. Yeah. I do. I feel that we're all now joined up at the hip. And we've got a couple of other questions come in now. I just want to address one thing that came in earlier from Ratna. Ratna talked about herself there. And Mal Roberts has said, Ratna, get on the stream team. We are always looking for folks because we're all about diversity and inclusion. It is a volunteering role, but please do get in touch with us. Now, one thing I want to do is we talked about Vince and what he raised on LinkedIn, but before we do that, I just want to go to Natalie and say, Natalie, you had a bag of questions. We've only got one out of you so far, so let's see if we can pull another one out of that bag now.
Sure, thank you. It sounds so exciting to be a part of OneWISH, and from what you've explained, both on an individual level, there's a lot of opportunities to be mentored or to become a mentor, which I think is very exciting for people, sort of no matter what sort of stage they're at in their career. And as someone sort of at an earlier stage in my career, this sounds such a great opportunity. And also, as you've explained, this is a great opportunity for organisations to get involved with as well. Is there any organisations or sort of fields which you would love to get more involved in OneWISH, which perhaps you haven't seen so much involvement yet?
Melissa's nodding her head there. Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, I think this is a good topic, and it's actually something I was just going to bring up. I think there's a great opportunity for us around the younger generation. And something, again, passionate about in terms of STEM education, you know, and focusing or sharing to the younger generation the value of, say, an health and safety profession. And so when I was in the US, I was part of a program that we did like scholarships for high school females who wanted to go into STEM education, of which I think HSC is STEM related. People may have a different view. I love the idea of engineers coming into health and safety, for example. So I think there's an opportunity there. I think we do a lot around the professionals, and as professionals, you know, progressing, but we've got to start from when they are in primary school and secondary school and get them passionate about this profession so they don't be YouTubers and instead want to come in and make a difference here. Because one of the things I personally like about health and safety is making that impact around reducing fatalities in the workplace. You know, I think for me, it really shifted when I heard that statistics a few years ago of how many people die a year globally. So we need more people coming into the pipeline, and we've got to start from young, give them the opportunity, show them, and things like this, saying where, you know, how it could be an exciting career, examples of, you know, women and men making a difference in the workplace from different backgrounds, you know, could be someone from Africa or the Caribbean or so making a difference globally. I think there's a great opportunity there to do more in that space.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, a couple more come in, but before we do that, Jeanette, some thoughts from you, and then we'll just gather some more thoughts. Believe it or not, 48 minutes have whizzed past. I just cannot believe this. Okay, so Jeanette, just some thoughts from you.
Yeah, I think two thoughts and one question. One thought, I did some research today just to get prepared, and I was really struck with one finding. Women who support and mentor women are more successful, and there is evidence-based data on that, and I was really surprised. Wow, okay, on the natural like feeling, I knew that, but I didn't know that it's actually a fact and evidence behind that. That's a thought. Another thought was about inclusion. I really like that you included, it's not only about women, it's about inclusion. I look at inclusion from the perspective of gain. It's always a gain. It's always positive interaction, and trying to include everyone. And would you agree with me that sometimes we need to look at the disadvantages as an advantage, and this is where our weaknesses become our strength, but we just don't know that our weaknesses are actually our strength. And what you do, and I would like to thank you on behalf of all women and others who might need your support out there around the globe, who don't have those resources available like we do sometimes. On behalf of them, I would like to thank you. I see that every day. I mentor myself. I have girls, young ladies, and mature men and women. And I think it's absolute amazing and royal job that we're doing in health and safety in around women. However, my question is more pragmatic. My question is about your future plans. How do you see your future, and are there any interesting events that we need to look forward?
Good question. Anyone in particular, or does anybody want to take that? Anne, go ahead, Anne. Oh, I thought you were pointing at yourself. Louise, go ahead, Louise.
So yeah, I mean, we're kind of allowing this to happen organically. We don't want it to be a men versus women thing, but those with more feminine traits find it harder to push themselves forward. So actually all that we're doing is we're trying to create a bit more of a level playing field by supporting people and giving them, so often it's about giving people the confidence that they can step up, you know, the facts speak for themselves. We don't have we have a very narrow demographic in our leadership roles, and so we're here to kind of support that. And to answer your question, Jeanette, we are allowing this to progress organically. We are going to become first of all, we're becoming a not-for-profit organisation. So we're very keen to make sure that everything that we do is completely accessible. We're very keen to attract organisations that are based in developing nations as well. What we have coming up is just continuing to use these connections. We're pulling together these huge organizations in health and safety who are now talking to each other, which is incredible. So we're not just talking about inclusion, we're talking about great health and safety as well, because we're talking to each other. We've got another group of 6 women that we're going to be bringing forward. The deadline to apply for that is going to be the 21st of May. If you come onto the OneWISH LinkedIn page, you'll see all about that. And we're planning another congress, which will be in November, which is going to be much more broadly around the topic of inclusion. But we're just going to put on great health and safety content as well. So to demonstrate it's not a men-women thing. It's just about putting on great content as well. Yeah, that's good to hear as well. Go ahead, Cathy.
Yeah, I just wanted to also jump in, kind of a little different slant, but I just think the question's so important. My eyes were opened wide at our World International Women's Day. The president-elect, Christine Sullivan for the American Society of Safety Engineers, mind you, I was president of that group. I'm thinking we had so many more women. And she said, no, statistically, there was like 20 to maybe 23% of women of 40,000 safety professionals.
I think it's like 20% or something.
No, it was like 23% for ASSP. I don't know about IOSH, but ASSP. And so for me, to your point, that just broke open for me. Like, we got to do something here. Now, part of it's unpacking and doing research. And my hope is that OneWISH, we will get into more research and finding what else is out there. But so that's the one piece, is the women in safety, which I know if Malk were here and we channeled him, he would be saying that's our first point of call. That's what we're going to do. But the other piece, the other statistic that I've just dug out in preparation for this is that at least in the United States, the highest rate of fatalities and for women is workplace homicides. So workplace violence, and that's in the United States. And, you know, my U.S. colleagues would say, oh, yeah, well, that's a developing country or a developed country, yada, yada. And the reality is this happens everywhere in the world. So we need to be unpacking what that looks like. And so to me, there's research and there's entities that perhaps we with our crystal ball could be, you know, trying to impact.
Well, you know, the chat's gone a bit wacky wild here, and I know Tamara's been looking at them as well. So the first thing is I've parked scrolling on the chat because Angela's said something and I have to share it with you, okay? And I'm going to put it up. It's a bit long, but I'm going to read it to you. Angela says, We all need support and positive role models. I suggest that we need to be less concerned about differences and celebrate that women and men are different. We each can bring a different perspective to a situation. Women have perhaps a different focus that helps to balance out what can be, in my experience, still a little male-dominated at times. And I put that up because Jimmy has gone on to say, no, not that one. He's gone on to say, Angela, an amazing statement. And I think we do have to recognize that we have to get off this race and gender war, don't we? We just have to recognize people for what they bring to the table as skill set. Now, Louise, Vince has put the comment up that he put on LinkedIn, but for time-wise, I'm going to avoid that because we can get into quite a long discussion.
We could carry on talking.
Well, we could do, couldn't we? You just want to break that record of 1 hour and 13 minutes. I know you. Let's capture a few of the others as well. Pam has said, and I know Pam
is amazing, and she does an incredible job. We've got some great people on the line, and thank you so much for tuning in. And Jimmy is one of our allies, so...
Yeah. Well, Pam says, hearing the stories of how others overcame the challenges critical, seeing yourself as successful because of how others have modeled it for you can be a game changer. I think one of our guests in the past called it imagery. If you can imagine it, focus on it, you can make it a bit of a reality.
If you can see it, you can be it.
Exactly, yeah. And I must mention Darren Sutton for enlightening me in that. Very good. Agree with there's a bit of banter going on the LinkedIn side. I'll avoid that for the moment between various folks. And Pam says, "Oh, thanks, Louise." Okay, so look, I want to sort of take a bit of a Zen moment here and get everybody's thoughts on some of this because time is. Mal says, "Can we hear Natalie's view?" Natalie, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it sounds such a great opportunity to be a part of OneWISH, like I said, as an individual and also for organisations. And I love the fact that it's a great opportunity to learn from one another and to use our different strengths and learnings to strengthen one another. And also, like you said, to bring forward and to highlight great work that's being done that perhaps hasn't been highlighted. I think that sounds incredible, and I think a lot of people will understand that there's a lot of great work out there that women are doing that's perhaps not being highlighted that much. I don't know if you want to speak of an example of that. You did mention a few examples.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, I think somebody mentioned Karen James's presentation from the International Women's Day, and that just completely blew my mind. And there was a stat that she put out there where ERM do a lot of research globally, and they did research across 273 different organizations, and they found of the largest organizations globally, 15% had women health and safety leaders in them, and that compared to 29% at the same level of management. So what that means is that somewhere in the profession we've fallen out of sync with all of this. And what she was saying is that if you would then take those big organizations and you think of, predominantly male organizations like construction, mining, oil and gas, we're missing issues that affect women. And I think Cathy mentioned about workplace violence, and they were, some of these issues just weren't being considered because the safety management within those organizations are looking through a narrow lens. Whereas if we can achieve this balance, we're going to see the whole picture of safety practitioners. And that means we're going to make better safety choices and we're going to save more lives.
Wow. Well, I'm sure we're probably going to have to have another follow-up show on this, to be honest, because by then you'll have a lot more to cram in and we'll probably need 3 hours for the show. I think you're achieving so much in such a short period of time. And Jimmy says, is that time record yours? Sorry, Jimmy, it's not, but I'm sure you'll try and beat it for the next one. Now, what I want to do is I on closing thoughts, we've still got chats going on. This is a recorded event, so people will be able to see the recording on YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. What I'd like to do is I'd just like to finish with some thoughts from yourself, and maybe anything that we've forgotten to discuss, maybe something you want to signpost to. I'd like to go through in the same format again, starting with Melissa first this time. We'll go in reverse. Melissa, with yourself, just give us an update. Any thoughts, anything you want to share?
I think it was Angela's point was very valuable, right? Not focusing too much on the differences, but what we all can bring in. You know, just that diversity of thought and allowing people to bring in their views, listening to their views and sharing, because I think there's lots of data out there that talks about the importance of hearing from everyone, getting that appreciation and understanding of value of inclusion. So I think that's something the world is seeing more and more of. And if we're not on, looking at that as a focus, we're going to be left behind. Great.
Thanks, Melissa. Anne?
Yeah, it sort of picks up on that and something that Louise was talking about earlier about our future events and how at that individual level, what we'd really like to do is hear those underrepresented voices. And yes, we do. Whenever we go to health and safety conferences, it is, there's a cohort of people that rock up to them all, and they speak, and they're sought after to come and be the headline names. But what we would like to do is just draw out those people that don't usually have the opportunity, whether they don't want to put themselves forward, or they don't feel it's their place, or they don't feel like they've got something to say. If we've got a long run into our Congress in November, we would really like to go out to those networks and say, if you've got somebody who really's got something to say, they've done some research, for example, or they've done a project, or they've got something that they want to share with the world, then those are the sort of people that we'd really like to bring out. And it doesn't matter if they're women, any underrepresented group, or anybody that just doesn't speak on a regular basis. That's who we're aiming these things at.
Fantastic. I mean, you've got Ratna and you've got Angela there, who I'm sure would be keen to. Angela's in fact coming, saying great presentation. Thank you all. Cathy, any thoughts from yourself, please?
Yes, I'd like to just kind of bring this back to really what this is all about. I call it the True North test. And True North really is that people are at the core of every thriving business, and their ability to contribute is based on and influenced by their health, their safety, and their well-being. And at the end of the day, I think that's what this group is about. And if you think about people, that means everybody. And as I had said a little bit earlier, it's so we need to get diverse leaders, both in our profession, right? Because if you look, I mean, honestly, I look across it at my colleagues and people that are head VPs of global EHS across the world, and they're not women. So I just need to say that out loud. And then also women actually in work. What are we doing? Things are different. PPE is so physical, right? We can say, oh, these vests are hanging off of me, or the hard hats don't fit. And that's being addressed. That is absolutely being addressed by the vendors. But there's so much more we can do. So I just think we need to keep pointing at our true north and with this group, assuring that everybody is going in the same direction together.
Again, very eloquently put. Thank you, Cathy, for sharing that.
My
Tamara?
What I'd really like to just put out there is resonating with what Cathy was saying also, is that it's for everyone. It's making sure that we're breaking barriers for all those who are finding it difficult to get access to those positions of influence. And I think the big measuring stick that what we can use is that when we look at our executive teams, is it a representation of the actual workforce that is working there? So take a moment and step back, because it's not about seeing one person in a director position in this company. It's about seeing this as just the way business is done, that individuals that have the talent, the capability, and the experience are in that leadership pipeline, so that they're getting the opportunity to be moving up.
Excellent. Thanks.
And it's not about a man-woman thing. We just, we just happen to be embracing our femininity side, and it goes back to that feminine voice that Louise was saying before.
Absolutely. Louise?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is about everybody bringing their authentic self to the table. And, those with strong feminine traits have a different approach. And we need to create psychological safety for those quieter voices, those different voices, because we're missing out on a trick when we don't hear from those people, and all we hear from is the ones that shout the loudest. So it's about creating psychological safety for everybody. It's not about men versus women. This is an organizational issue. And if we can achieve that balance, it means that our male colleagues can spend more time with their families. They can take paternity leave and not feel discriminated for that. Let's not forget, we're losing so many men to suicide because they're not talking about how they're feeling. And when you put them in an environment with women where, we have a different approach, and we can learn from each other. So it is very much about balance. And I'm hugely excited to work with such an incredible team. And yeah, I mean, we're going to go all the way.
Great. Together we're stronger, as they say. Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for all your time. Now, I just want to make sure that I've done everything correct and I haven't forgotten anything. So I'll seek for some assurance from my colleagues, Natalie and Jeanette. Have I forgotten anything? Is there anything you want me to point out? Just tell me if I've done a bad job, whatever. Jeanette?
No, I was just making notes. I would like to thank you one more time. And 3 words I would like to summarize. It's learning from each other. It's about balance, and it's about empowerment. And I think that's a very short summary. Thank you so much. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Natalie?
Yeah, just to say thank you so much for sharing. It's been incredible really listening. So thank you so much for sharing.
Well, all I've got to say is thank you so much for allowing me to facilitate this. I think it went very well. The most we've ever had on a live event, and it went really well. One stage I thought we'd break the broadband, but it did really well. In fact, Martin actually says, "Great job, Sonny. Love you." I love you too, Martin. Checks in the post. All right, so just want to say next week we've got a great show lined up. It's a fantastic new thing we've found about. It's called Tight and Loose Culture. And our special guest is Professor Dominic Cooper. And as you know, Dom is an unknown entity. It can be fireworks ahead, or it can be calm and peaceful. We shall see. But I just want to say thank you to the OneWISH Coalition for what you do, speaking truth to power. I applaud you. And as Red Risks, I'm sure the entire stream team will support you and help in whatever way we can. If you can stay on for a few minutes after the live event, that'd be fantastic. And we'll have a bit of a closeout. But for the moment, stay well, stay true north, and hope it all goes well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching that live. If you want to be notified of future live events, head over to our website. There's a form on there. Hit the subscribe button and I'll update you whenever live events come up. I promise you, no spam. And finally, we do have a YouTube channel. It's just simply Red Risks. Please subscribe and help us. Let's connect, share and learn. Thanks. Catch you on the next live event.